Hi, welcome to Drive Time with Mike, the lesson format we use at Walnut Street Church of Christ for our small groups known as community drive groups. Thanks for watching. I want you to read Luke chapter 18, verses 31 through 43. One of the things that stands out to me in this passage of scripture is the power of emotions. Jesus has told his disciples 3 times that he must suffer and die and he will rise from the dead, but they don't want to hear it. Emotionally, they get stuck on Jesus' death and never really hear about Jesus' resurrection because they don't like what Jesus is telling them about the role of the Messiah. Emotionally, they want something different from Jesus. Afterwards, Jesus encounters a blind man begging for money just outside of Jericho. This blind man cries out to Jesus, and the scripture uses 2 different Greek words to describe his cries. One describes the blind man's urgency. The other describes his intensity, the intensity of his emotional need. If he were a gambler, he'd be all in. If he were an investor, he'd be fully invested with all his eggs in one basket. If he were a racer, this would be his last race, the last race of his career. The championship would be on the line. His cry was almost primal and animalistic, a need above all needs. It was desperate. Now let's be honest. That kind of need and vulnerability makes us self-sufficient Americans uncomfortable. Instead, we tend to let our emotions keep us from fully accepting the truths found in the Bible, rejecting what we don't like as if the Bible were to be taken buffet style. We tend to let our emotions keep us from going to church because we don't feel like it or something else more fun is available this week. We tend to let our emotions keep us from sharing the gospel with someone because we're afraid. But what if we, as Christians, were more like the beggar and less like the disciples? What if we really emotionally were in touch with how bad we need Jesus' help in our lives? What miracles would we see? What new levels of living would we experience? How many people would glorify God and be changed because of us? May we find the courage to be this fully, emotionally invested in the cause of Christ. God bless.